probably too many people had too easy access too quickly to too much credit these last 10 years. And it seems, this is people who are just speculating on this, it looks like this new middle class has now gotten frightened and has begun to take on less debt and consume less. And that this is beginning to explain the cooling down, very rapid cooling down of the Brazilian economy. I don't know if that's exactly true, but there are things that ring true in that. In the case of Mexico, perhaps because the process is a bit older, started 15 years ago, because we have fresher memories of economic collapses of 1995 and 1982, that new middle class is a little bit more prudent, a little bit more cautious. And we don't have the huge inflow of foreign investment because people don't like to invest in a country at war.
Which were further developed by the PT, the Workers' Party, to which Lula and Dilma Rousseff belong. That brought more than 30 million people into the middle class in Brazil. And there was a huge change in the Brazilian society, and it's absolutely true that we got too easy money from abroad. People were investing in Brazil heavily because of the high interest rates that Brazil paid. The government has done many things to try to prevent this to happen. The interest rates were lowered, and other measures were taken by the government. And nowadays the real is pretty much devalued. It's less. It had been overvalued for several years, and that contributed to the increase in prices that Dr. Castaneda has mentioned. Now the dollar changes for more than 2 reais. So there has been quite significant devaluation of the Brazilian currency. And the Brazilian government has, like I said, done a lot to try to prevent the flow of capitals from the overheated economies. And our president has been very vocal in criticizing the spillover of the debt crisis originating in Europe to our country. So we are very aware of the negative effects of these capital inflows. So we're trying to fight them.
We are now, this is the first government that's been in place for 5 years. Before that, in the past years, we've had 10 presidents in 10 years, almost 12 years. So there were changes. That's why it was difficult to get investment, to have, but we don't have the inflation on it because we have the rise. So this is not a problem. But for investment, you have to have stability, especially political stability and rule of law. And that's what we're putting out. This government is working on that, to have strong institutions first, to have the stability of the country in a way that it's being done now. And we're expecting to have, we're getting investment, but not as Peru and Colombia are getting. So it takes time.
Actually, it's a question for both. And the reason was because it was a protest against because Cuba was asking. In discussion with some Latin American friends, they said, well, President Obama insisted for not to invite Cuba because he's in electoral year and he needs the votes of Cuban diaspora in the United States. Do you think it's the main explanation of this fact, or there is a logic to not to accept anymore a non-elected government in American family? Actually, do you think that representative democracy and market economy is the only and irreversible future of Latin America? Thank you.
Agree. And in fact, President Juan Manuel Santos went especially to Cuba to meet with Castro just to speak about that and to tell them that he's very sorry that he wants to invite him, but because of President Obama and the government of the United States, as you mentioned, because of elections, They are not. But anyway, Cuba was invited to be part of the OAS in the last meetings in Honduras, I remember. I was part of that meeting in OAS meeting, and Cuba was the one that said that they are not ready to go yet into the OAS. So the thing is that, how do you put this now? Cuba wants to be part or not? It's up to them. In the meeting of the Cartagena, it was a case, they were meeting all of the presidents it was the ALBA meeting, I think, in that moment, if I'm not mistaken, or the CELAC meeting. And unanimous, they agreed that Cuba should be invited, maybe not that time, because it was too short, but the next time that they have a meeting, it shouldn't be without a summit of the Americas without Cuba as invited. So this is what they took the decision. Of course, Obama couldn't say anything this time, but if he wins again, I'm sure that the next 4 years will not be a problem. And the next summit of the Americas will be in 3 years, I think.
The Americans said no. It's very easy to say yes when you know it's not going to happen. The problem is that this was a meeting of the Summit of the Americas. It's not the CELAC.
No,
it's not the OAS.
Yes, I know.
CELAC was the one before.
That's when they took the decision to invite.
Well, they took the decision without the Americans.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's the problem. But the OAS and the Summit of the Americas in Quebec in 2001 made a very clear declaration to the effect that only those countries that accept the Inter-American Democratic Charter can participate in these summits. Now, either you take that seriously or you don't take it seriously. And there were two very strong arguments that collide. One is the traditional non-intervention, national sovereignty, self-determination argument, which says every country can have the government it wants. And having one kind of government or another kind of government is not a reason for excluding anybody from a summit or an organization. And this is a very legitimate point of view that Brazil and Mexico and others have subscribed to for 100 years. Then there is the other argument, which is you accept the principle of collective defense of democracy and the universal nature of human rights protection. Or you don't. You don't have to. Some countries do and some countries don't. But if you do, you can't then turn around and say, well, yes, but this doesn't apply to Cuba because the Americans are not nice to the Cubans, which is true, they are not nice. But you can't say this principle does not apply to Cuba because of the embargo, because of history, because of this, because of that. Either you exclude Honduras from the OAS when a coup overthrows the government, in which case you can't accept Cuba, because it is not a democratically elected government. There is no one in the world who can say that Raul Castro is a democratically elected president of Cuba. You can say this was the best solution, you can say this is a temporary solution, you can say that other alternatives are worse, you can say all of that, but you cannot say that there are elections in Cuba. So then you have to decide whether you want to place the principle of democratic rule, respect for human rights, fundamental guarantees above national sovereignty, or you want to place the principle of non-intervention and national sovereignty above these other values. You can do either one, but you can't do both on a case-by-case basis. Because then we come back to what the gentleman in the back was saying, or implying, which is that among one of the reasons why things in Latin America have not worked out very well, it is our, I would say, traditional hypocrisy. You can't have it both ways. You can have it either way.
Yes, Jorge, but also they're having it both released in many places, double standards with that.
No, I agree.
So
You can't have it double
and who
standard.
created Cuba to be like that? It's the United States, by doing the embargo. So I'm against embargoes. I don't agree with
That's the
embargoes.
rationale.
So this is a discussion that it will take another hour, but we have to be a little more, see it from both sides, not just because the United States says this is not having human rights.
No,
We'll check. Who checks human rights? Let's check
If I
human rights.
had been foreign minister of Mexico this time, I would have been against Cuba being invited. Completely against.
That's your position.
Yes, completely against.
But the other
But not because of the United States.
because of the democratic.
Exactly.
Okay, but not because of
Totally
the
against.
rights only.
Well, yes, well, that's a good.
But then blame
That's
also
a-
the United States for human
But
rights.
of course you do.
And so put it out. Let's have the United States out of the meeting.
There's one fundamental difference, I think, Yvonne. In the United States, people can denounce American human rights violations in the United States and in Guatemala. In Cuba, you cannot denounce human rights violations in Cuba.
So that's the reason.
Fundamental, well, it's a pretty good reason. Ask the people in Georgia what they think, and I think they'll tell you actually it's a pretty good reason. Actually, they weren't very happy when things were like in Cuba. I think.
I'm not agreeing. I'm not saying that Cuba is a perfection. I'm just saying that double standards are not the right way.
I don't think it's.
And who is the police of the world? You have to start thinking that the police of the world should be the people.
No, I think the police of the world should be the treaties that are signed.
Well, I think the Arab Spring shows that the police of the people in that region, because of what is going on, are the people that get up and say, we don't want this anymore. So it's the people. It's not just because a person says, or this has to be this way. Who are they? I mean, only a few countries say that this is the human rights, and we blame this country and this country are not doing the right thing. We want to blame also the United States for many things. For example, I'm not saying, I'm just having a discussion. There is a lot of double standards that have to be changed in the world. And we are in a world that is small, interconnected, and we have to see things in a different perspective also. I think the embargo that was done with Cuba, I'm against Cuba with the way it's going on, but this embargo has made it stronger than Castro Five. And this is the reason that it's still there. If it wasn't because of that, it would have been a long time ago out of it.
Because you want an international agreement and covenants to protect the environment. And you want a strong Rio Plus 20.
Yeah.
And you want a strong treaty. Yes? But you can't have strong treaties on one thing, and then on the other one say, no, this is different. If Ecuador can say tomorrow, I denounce the Inter-American Democratic Charter that was signed in Lima on September 11, 2001. There is no obligation to continue to subscribe to that. You can leave, you can denounce it, like Ecuador is about, or already left the Inter-American Human Rights Court Commission.
No,
you can
Venezuela.
it's about Venezuela.
Venezuela did, but Ecuador didn't do it.
We'll
Ecuador just
probably do it
presented
soon.
it. No, Ecuador no.
Not yet, but you're going in that
No,
direction.
it's not Ecuador.
You don't think so? President Correa likes the court in the commission.
I don't think he likes the
I
court.
didn't think so. I didn't
They
think so.
presented there and we got very good at those.
You can choose either one, but it's very difficult to say when the treaty is in my favor, I like it. When the treaties are not in my favor, I don't like it. You can denounce it.
You can say that in the National Security Council of people that they have the right
Exactly.
to veto only. Few countries just can say no and everything stops.
Exactly. And you can leave the United Nations. Nobody forces you to do that. You can leave
There
the
should
United
be
Nations.
changes. There should be changes.
But there will not be changes.
There will. I assure you there will.
And you'll tell me
By the
when.
people that will. The young generation are the ones that are going to change many things, including protecting the environment and supporting initiatives. Even the United States is not signing Kyoto. Few countries didn't sign Kyoto.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank our two distinguished keynote speakers for their presentations and the very clever and secure way they defended their viewpoints. And we're surely part of a very lively discussion here. I'd like to thank Europe House for organizing this, giving Latin America a voice in Georgia. I would tell those who don't know it yet, I'm the only Latin American ambassador in Tbilisi, which is
That's fantastic.
well, I'm glad at least Brazil is present here, but I do hope soon I'll have colleagues from Mexico, Ecuador, and other countries. And I think it's time to close the debate because in a few minutes there will be another event taking place in this hall. So thank you very much, and a big thanks to the brilliant keynote speakers.